TVA says it supplied more energy last Friday going into Saturday morning than at any other time in its history. Now, we are apparently out of the rolling power outages for conservation. Local 3's Abigail Martin is here in the studio to talk more about how TVA and EPB determined the need for these outages. Abigail?
David, TVA spokesperson Scott Brooks said this past weekend marked the first time in its 90-year history that the TVA had to take that step to preserve power.
Our main priority was to protect the stability of the power grid. And so we took several steps before that, asking for voluntary conservation, but then we moved into a situation where we had to put that call out to the local power companies and ask for their help.
TVA spokesperson Scott Brooks said the National Weather Service called the storm a, quote, once-in-a-generation storm. According to a release, typical power demands for December are around 24,000 megawatts, but on December 23rd, they exceeded 33,000 megawatts. Brooks said while the TVA did require power consumption to be reduced by local power companies, that they did not specifically require rolling blackouts. He says each made a decision to meet the requirement based on how they were prepared to do so.
Most of them did take the action of instituting temporary power reductions, rolling across their system. The main goal there was to not have too many people out of power at one time for any length of time. So they were trying to reduce make the impact as minimal as possible while meeting our requirement.
Many areas were impacted by the efforts to control outages. The 15 to 30-minute controlled outages allowed the power grid to remain stable. Brooks says if reductions did not happen, that significant issues could have meant days without power. He says after the holiday, the TVA will be back at work.
The next step will be to take a look at how we got there and how we keep it from happening again.
Temperatures are expected to climb back into the 40s and 50s later this week, so the grid and heaters can take a much-needed break. Brooks says it is never a bad idea to conserve energy, but there is not a need for voluntary efforts at this time. Brooks said things are looking up.
So we certainly don't expect any issues in the short term, but long term, it's just the first week of winter.
While residents don't have to worry about power reductions now, Brooks says you can save up to 3% on your power bill for every degree that you turn your thermostat down. In studio, I'm Abigail Martin, Local 3 News.